Hi, my name is Devin Knight, and welcome to today's Pragmatic Minute. What we're going to talk today about is control flow precedence constraints inside SSIS. So what are precedence constraints, and what's the whole point of using those in control flows? So inside any control flow that you have, you'll have control flow tasks. And the way of telling the order of operations of how each one of these tasks is going to run is by using precedence constraints. Now, if you can imagine, you have a control flow here. So this whole surface is our control flow. And in this, we have a single task. And in this task, it can have three possibilities. It can either succeed, it could fail, or we could just have something occur on completion. And this is how precedent constraints come in. So let's say, for example, this is just an execute SQL task. It doesn't matter what it is. So let's say execute SQL. And depending on whether that task runs successfully or not, we want the rest of our package to run differently. So if this task runs successfully, if it completes successfully, then we want it to go to, so this is on success, we want it to go to a data flow that loads the rest of our data, or loads our package. If this execute SQL task fails, we want something different to happen. So we may want, if on failure, we want some kind of auditing to occur. So we want to actually notify that our package has failed. You could do this also in event handlers inside SSIS. But you could do this also with precedence constraints inside your control flow. So this could be some kind of auditing task to notify us that our package has failed, maybe a send mail task, something like that. We may also choose to, depending on, regardless of whether it's ran successfully or failed, we may want to run the package anyways, so on completion. So these are your three options that you have with precedence constraints. On completion, which means whether it succeeded or failed. Also successful, so if the previous task succeeds, then run this task. Or on failure, so if this task fails, then run this task. There's another thing that you need to know about the precedence constraints. And it goes with using multiple precedence constraints at one time. So let's say, for example, we have a task up top. I'm not going to label them this time. That's an awful box, but that's okay. So here's our first task, and we have two things that we want to do. We have, if that task fails, so this is on failure, we want it to run this task right here. If it succeeds, go ahead and go to the end of my package and run my data flow, or whatever we want to call it here. But even if it does fail, so we're having an extra step here, even if it does fail, we still want it to eventually come back to our final task. So on success, go this way. On failure, go this way. Even if you do fail, still go to the final task. Now the problem with this is we can never get to our final task. Reason is, this task has to not only succeed, but this task also has to fail before it can make it to this final task. Now this is using what's called an AND operator. And what you can do in SSIS is switch this to an OR operator, meaning either or of these has to be true for it to make it to the final task. And what this would look like in SSIS is it would switch these lines. By the way, the success line would be green, the failure line would be red, and the completion line that I showed earlier would be blue. But with an OR operator, it's going to switch these lines, the colored lines, to dashed lines that I'm kind of trying to demonstrate here. So if we made this an OR operator, it wouldn't mean that both of this has to be true, both failure and succeed has to be true. It could be either or to make it to this final task. I hope you enjoyed this pragmatic work. My name is Devin Knight. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at dknight@pragmaticworks.com.